evening. This is the News Tonight, your daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell, and our special focus tonight is on the border talks that are happening between India and China. Can a breakthrough happen before Prime Minister Modi visits Beijing? We'll be discussing all that and more with a special guest. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. India and China start 18th round of border talks in Delhi. Both sides will focus on clarifying the line of actual control. Karnataka government bows to opposition pressure, concedes CBI probe into the death of IAS officer D.K. Ravi. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh addresses annual conference of the State Minorities Commissions, calls for debate on conversions. World leaders mourn the passing away of Lee Kuan Yew, the man who presided over Singapore's transformation from chaos to prosperity. And India's first international star, veteran actor Shashi Kapoor, gets India's highest film honour, the Dada Saheb Phalke Award. A special focus this evening. India and China today held the 18th round of talks to resolve the long-standing border dispute. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who is also the special representative on the boundary question, held talks with his Chinese counterpart Yang Jiechi in New Delhi. The two-day dialogue aims to fix the dispute over 3,500 kilometers of borderline that's not been clearly demarcated. It also holds significance as it is the first since Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power in May last year. The fresh round of talks comes just days ahead of Modi's first visit to China. Last month, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj visited China as a preparation for the Prime Minister's visit and spoke about the need for an out-of-the-box solution on the border issue. She said it cannot be left for future generations. And we're joined by Jabin Thomas Jacob, Assistant Director at the Institute of Chinese Studies, to help us better understand the importance of these talks and also the way forward from here. Jabin, first, very simply, for the benefit of our viewers, I mean, last year there was a standoff at Leh in Demchok, and there have been numerous instances. So, just in terms of the dispute, how is it between the two countries?
Well, I think it's important to remember that as two large countries, this boundary dispute is not so easily resolved. It's not just about the boundary anymore. Two countries are also paying attention to the regional context, the international context, and everything is tied in really. Now, as far as where the boundary dispute today stands, I think despite the face-offs at Demchok and at Chumur, in 2013 and 2014, at DBO and in Chumur in 2013 and 2014, it needs to be remembered that the boundary, the LAC, the line of actual control, has been by and large tranquil. Not a single shot has been fired in several decades. So the two countries are keeping in mind, their responsibility as big powers. And they also realize that the relationship, their bilateral relationship, is too important to be, casually treated. There are very clear procedures laid down along the LAC about how different incidents are going to be resolved. Of course, the two incidents at Daulat Beg Oldi and at Chumur, they might be seen as, and especially given the time that given their timing, there are questions about how the Chinese look at this, or how the Chinese are, talking about or dealing with these issues at their end. But see, look, we have progressed, we have resolved them, and we are, I think, at least as far as India is concerned, we are in a very strong position. There's nothing to be worried as far as our responses to China is concerned.
All right, but in terms of solutions, in terms of, this is a really long-standing issue, and both the countries have really not been able to make headway. There's a new government over here. This is the first time that these talks are happening ever since Prime Minister Modi came to power. Do you see a different approach from the Indian side, as External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj had said earlier, that an out-of-the-box solution is required? So do you see that happening anytime?
Look, it's too early to say whether there is a different approach. I think, at least as far as China is concerned, the previous government has laid a very strong foundation for this government to act on. These boundary negotiations, of course, have been taking place for several decades, but that is the way it would be between two large countries. China's dispute with Russia also took several decades to resolve. So I think it's only natural that India and China will also take a long time. Now, as far as the out-of-the-box solution is concerned, it depends. I mean, we have two strong leaders on both sides of the border. They are backed by a very strong popular mandate, at least on the Indian side. And in China, Xi Jinping is seen as a strong leader with a great deal of popular support, especially because of his anti-corruption movement and so on. Now, the question is whether the two leaders can make use of this backing, popular support at home, to reach a deal on the boundary. And that might not necessarily be very easy, at least for the Chinese, because they are pressed on their one side, on the eastern flank, because of their territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Now, that does not necessarily mean that they will look for a solution on the India-China boundary dispute, because the dispute is very closely related to the questions of their control over Tibet. Tibet is the elephant in the room, as it were. So it's not just a matter of demarcating a boundary between the two sides. It's a larger political question. And this will necessarily take time.
Has that question been slipped down in terms of the priority order, in terms of the relationship? As you mentioned earlier, the bilateral relationship between the two countries has certainly evolved. The trade, of course, and the economy have taken over. So do you see these issues, I mean, being in terms of the friendliness between the two countries being relegated to the sidelines?
No, I mean, I think the relationship has actually matured. The two countries have managed to go beyond the boundary dispute and talk about a lot of issues of mutual interest. One, their economic relationship has grown. Of course, there is a huge trade deficit that India has to battle. There are several non-tariff barriers that the Chinese have imposed on Indian products. But these, I think, are essentially market-driven issues which will also be resolved by the market. China and India are also taking up common positions on several regional and global issues of import. But we must also remember, at least in India, we have to remember that the growth of China, which we see, is not only economic, it's also, and not only military. This is what most Indian analysts, most Indian audiences pay attention to. The growth of China is also very political. It's also extremely ideological. The Chinese are coming up with new ideas to explain their rise. They're coming up with new concepts, new methods of dealing with their region, with their neighborhood, with the rest of the world, that India needs to pay very close attention to. What is the big Indian idea that India puts forward to the rest of the world? We are not only competing with China on the economic front, but we are also, in a sense, trying to come up with an idea that can stand as an alternative to both the United States as well as the Chinese.
Right.
What's that idea? That is the real challenge that China puts in front of us.
All right, so perhaps could be answered when Prime Minister Modi visits Beijing. A major headway could happen. Let's see what these talks come out with. But Jobin Thomas Jacob, thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand this issue a little better. Moving on now, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, General V.K. Singh attended Pakistani Ambassador Abdul Basid's dinner today to celebrate Pakistan Day. The guest list had, among other Congress leaders like Mani Shankar Iyer and 7 separatist leaders, including Hurriyat Conference Chairman Mirwais Umar Farooq. Now, the dinner came on a day when the Indian government said it won't entertain third parties in issues relating to India and Pakistan.
Forward to
hours after a meeting between Pakistan High Commissioner Abdul Basid and separatist Hurriyat leaders in Delhi, the Indian government reiterated its stand that there is no place for a third party in Indo-Pak ties. Syed Akbaruddin, the spokesperson with the Ministry of External Affairs, told the media there is no scope for misunderstanding India's position on the role of Hurriyat Conference.
Let me reiterate, there are only 2 parties and there is no place for a third party in resolution of India-Pakistan issues.
Akbaruddin's statement was a response to Pakistan High Commissioner Abdul Basid, who said early on Monday that India wasn't against him inviting the Kashmiri separatist leaders.
No, I don't think Indian government is objecting. I would rather suggest to my media friends not to make an issue out of a non-issue. We're looking forward to more meetings between our two countries, and because the objective is to achieve peace between our two countries, resolve our problems, and one hopes that both the countries will now move forward. The time has come to resolve our problems and issues.
Separatist leaders too justified their meeting with the Pak High Commissioner.
I believe that the mindset has to change, that you have to understand the fact that Hurriyat or the people of Kashmir we're not hindering anything. We want to cooperate, we want to strengthen the process, and you have to give an opportunity to that. I mean, the whole idea behind meeting people, whether from Delhi or Islamabad, is to re-engage, is to start talking.
The meeting also evoked criticism and protests in some parts of the country.
प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, डिफेंस मिनिस्टर हो, विदेश मंत्री हो, सभी ने दिल्ली में जो पाकिस्तान के हाई कमिश्नर है उनको बुला के बहुत स्टूडेंट एक्शन लेने की बात करनी चाहिए. ये तो हमारे देश के खिलाफ एक साजिश होती है. फिर
It is Pakistan Day or any other day, Pakistan is hell bent upon using terror, terrorists and separatists as an instrument of state policy against India.
Last year, similar talks between Basit and Hurriyat leaders prompted India to call off Foreign Secretary level talks with Pakistan. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Minister Mufti Mohammad Saeed on Monday said that his government will initiate the process of scrapping the Armed Forces Special Powers Act from the state. Although he insisted that the government will not jump the gun and call for revoking AFSPA in one go, instead push for a phased and gradual revocation of the act after taking the army on board. The remarks come just 2 days after twin terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir that killed 3 security personnel. Mufti Saeed blamed the attacks on non-state actors and said if Pakistan wanted peace with India, they must rein in the extremists. The Chief Minister said that he held the belief that all issues could be only solved with talk and not with bullets.
मैं ये कह रहा हूं, उनके भी कुछ खदशात हैं आर्मी के, तो मैं ये कहता हूं मैं एकदम जंप नहीं करूंगा. आई विल नॉट जंप. विल सी जिस हद तक हम सोच समझ के कुछ रास्ता निकालेंगे, कुछ एरियाज को डिनोटिफाइड करेंगे, और बाय ग्रेजुअल प्रोसेस. आई कांट डू इट वन गो, बट आई विल डू इट. आई विल डू इट. उनको कंसल्टेशन, take them on board.
The Prime Minister Narendra Modi today paid tributes to freedom fighters Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev in Firozpur district of Punjab. Addressing a gathering, the Prime Minister said Punjab has sacrificed many children for the country's freedom struggle, and even today the sons of Punjab are sacrificing their lives at the borders. In his speech, the Prime Minister also touched upon the contentious land bill, appealing to farmers not to be swayed by rumours. Modi said the progress of the country depends on the country's farmers.
अभी अभी ओले गिरे. मैं जानता हूं किसानों पर कितनी बड़ी आपत्ति आई है. मैंने भारत सरकार के अधिकारियों को, मंत्रियों को आदेश किए हैं. सर्वे का काम शुरू हुआ है. राज्य सरकार, भारत सरकार मिलकर के आपके इस संकट की घड़ी में आपके साथ है. आपको जो नुकसान हुआ है, हमारा किसान टिक सके, जितनी भी मदद सरकार कर सकती है, उसमें सरकार किसी भी हालत में पीछे नहीं रहेगी.
The Home Minister Rajnath Singh today assured protection to minority communities and said they will go to, in fact the government will go to any extent to safeguard them. The assurance comes after a weekend that saw churches vandalized in Mumbai and Jabalpur. The Home Minister asked for a frank and open debate on issues of Ghar Wapsi and religious conversions. Singh also requested state governments to take the strongest possible action to protect minorities. Rajnath Singh was delivering the inaugural address at the annual Conference of Chairpersons of the State Minorities Commission.
मैं यह मानता हूं कि थोड़ी बहुत भी जो सेंस ऑफ इनसिक्योरिटी कांग्रेस की हुकूमत में जो माइनॉरिटीज के मन के अंदर रही है, उस सेंस ऑफ इनसिक्योरिटी को समाप्त करके सेंस ऑफ सिक्योरिटी यदि डेवलप कोई गवर्नमेंट यदि कर सकती है तो एनडीए गवर्नमेंट कर सकती है, लेड बाई श्री नरेंद्र मोदी. धर्मांतरण के मुद्दे पर जरूर मैंने कहा कि कभी घर वापसी, कभी धर्मांतरण, यह सब सारे जो सवाल खड़े किए जाते हैं, अब इसके बारे में लोगों को विचार करना चाहिए कि क्या बिना धर्मांतरण के लोगों की सेवा नहीं की जा सकती है।
And bowing down to pressure from the opposition, Karnataka Chief Minister K. Siddaramaiah ordered a CBI probe into the death of Indian Administrative Service Officer D.K. Ravi Kumar. Ravi Kumar, who was posted as Joint Commissioner in the Commercial Tax Department, was found hanging from a ceiling fan in his Bengaluru apartment by his wife on the 16th of March. Police suspect it to be a case of suicide, although no suicide note was found around the officer's body.
Bowing to pressure from the public and the opposition, the Siddaramaiah government finally conceded a CBI probe into the mysterious death of IAS officer D.K. Ravi. The Chief Minister told the Assembly that his government never intended to hush up the case.
ನಾವು ಅವರಿಂದ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡಿಸಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೆ ತನಿಖಾ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವರ
The CBI probe comes after the Congress Central Leadership's intervention in the face of an opposition firestorm targeting the Chief Minister.
In any case, preliminary investigation has to be done by the state police, and only if they feel that there is a need for a CBI investigation inquiry, then only the case is transferred. But at the same time, because the family feels that the case should be transferred to CBI, therefore we are asking the state government to send it to CBI.
IAS officer Ravi was found hanging from a ceiling fan at his flat on last Monday. The government handed over the case to the CID, even as it maintained that it was a prima facie a case of suicide. Opposition questioned the government as to why it was jumping the gun.
This is not the satisfaction or happy thing for any opposition or any persons. We fought against this government the way in which they behaved after the Ravi's death. We fought only to get proper investigation. What is the real truth? People wanted that.
Today we gather the information that the Karnataka government is going to hand over this case to the CBI. This is what had been the demand of the Bharatiya Janata Party Karnataka unit right from the very beginning. And today finally the state government is conceding to this demand.
At a special hearing on Sunday, the Karnataka High Court restrained the state government from publishing an interim CID report into the unnatural death of Ravi. Ravi made a mark as a bold officer and taken on the sand and land mafia besides crackdown on tax evaders. Suspecting foul play, his family demanded an inquiry by the central agency. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, time now for some national news updates in Nationwide. The RBI has blamed rise in government borrowings through bonds for impeding the growth of the corporate debt market. Presenting data on this, RBI Deputy Governor R. Gandhi said the government borrowing only grows unabated every year. He, however, welcomed the fiscal consolidation plan of the government as a step in the right direction that will aid the deepening of the corporate debt market. The Supreme Court has given Sahara a final chance to raise 10,000 crores by selling or mortgaging assets within 3 months to bail out founder Subrata Roy. The court also permitted Subrata Roy and two Sahara directors to use the conference room in Tihar jail complex to hold negotiations with potential buyers. Roy has been in jail for a year for non-refund of over 20,000 crore rupees to depositors. Jindal Steel and Power Limited moved the Delhi High Court against the centre's decision to cancel coal blocks allocated to it. The government is believed to have allotted the 3 cancelled coal blocks to Coal India Limited. The government allotted the coal blocks to Coal India after the Supreme Court allowed companies to continue mining till the 31st of March. 6 persons were arrested in connection with the attack on a cathedral and a school in Jabalpur on Friday night. The arrested men are allegedly members of the Bajrang Dal and Dharam Sena. The incident took place on the 20th of March when some Christians were allegedly assaulted and threatened. Well, some international news now, and the former Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, died early this morning. He was 91. The city-state's founding Prime Minister, who ruled with an iron grip for 31 years, was widely respected as the architect of Singapore's prosperity. Lee is credited with transforming Singapore from a small port city to a wealthy global hub.
founding father of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, passed away at a Singapore hospital early morning on Monday. 91-year-old Yew had been in hospital for several weeks with severe pneumonia. Singapore has declared 7 days of national mourning and will hold a state funeral for Lee on March 29th.
The first of our founding fathers is no more. He inspired us, gave us courage, kept us together, and brought us here. He fought for our independence, built a nation where there was none, and made us proud to be Singaporeans. We won't see another man like him.
Lee oversaw Singapore's independence from Britain and separation from Malaysia. A Cambridge-educated lawyer, Lee led Singapore through merger with and then separation from Malaysia, something that he described as a moment of anguish.
The whole of my adult life, I have believed in Malaysian merger and the unity of these two territories. As people connected by geography, economics, and ties of kinship.
Credited with transforming Singapore from a small port city to the wealthy global hub it is today, Lee was also criticized for his iron grip on power. Lee tightly restricted freedom of speech, and under him, political opponents were targeted by the courts. Dissent and political opponents were ruthlessly quashed. Even today, Lee's People's Action Party remains firmly in control. Other measures such as corporal punishment, a ban on chewing gum, and the government's foray into matchmaking for Singapore's brightest to create smarter babies led to perceptions of excessive state interference. World leaders have mourned Lee's death and offered condolence to the people of Singapore. Singapore President Tony Tan has written an open letter of condolence in which he describes Lee as the architect of Singapore. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to France now, where it was another big vote for the French far right as former President Nicolas Sarkozy emerged on top in the first round of local elections. UMP's majority in these elections that are held in 2 rounds will be a much-needed boost to Sarkozy's political comeback bid. Now, the far-right National Front Party came second with about 25% of the vote, while French President François Hollande's socialists, beset by economic woes and record unemployment, came in third.
France's former president Nicolas Sarkozy's party UMP and its allies took first place in the first round of local elections. The results came after the party's win in the municipal and European elections last year. Conservative UMP secured 32% of the votes, edging out the far-right Nationalist Front that came second with 25%. President François Hollande's ruling Socialists came third with 22%. The results mean the second round on 29th of March will see a runoff between the UMP and the FN in many constituencies. UMP leader Sarkozy immediately ruled out any alliance with FN candidates in the next Sunday's second round.
À tous ceux qui ont fait le choix de voter pour le Front National, que nous entendons leur exaspération, mais que ce parti, qui a le même programme économique que l'extrême gauche, qui s'est félicité de l'élection du nouveau gouvernement grec d'extrême gauche.
The result is a setback for National Front leader Marine Le Pen, who hoped her resurgent anti-immigrant, anti-EU party would emerge on top in the first round. It would have made her a serious presidential contender for 2017. However, Le Pen called for Prime Minister Manuel Valls to resign, celebrating what she said was a massive vote for her party. Valls called on voters to ensure FN's defeat in the next Sunday's runoffs.
Le Front National réussit l'exploit de dépasser largement dans une élection locale son score des européennes. Ce vote massif pour le Front National, qui s'enracine élection après élection, montre que les Français veulent retrouver leur liberté et qu'un nombre considérable de nos compatriotes ont compris qu'une autre politique est possible.
J'appelle également tous les républicains à faire barrage à l'extrême droite au second tour. Tous les républicains, et je dis bien tous les républicains, font face ce soir à leur responsabilité.
98 of France's 101 departments voted to select 4,108 representatives to serve 6-year terms on councils that are responsible for local transport and health and education spending. Interestingly, for the first time, voters are not choosing single candidates but pairs, a man and a woman, to enforce stricter gender equality in local politics. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some sports now, and in the first semi-final of the Cricket World Cup this year, co-host New Zealand take on favourite South Africa on home turf in Auckland on Tuesday. Last time the two have met in the knockout stage was at Dhaka in the 2011 World Cup, where the Kiwis had defeated the Proteas by 49 runs.
Records and tournament form may favour the co-hosts, but going into the first semi-finals, both opponents rely on similar strengths: fast bowling attack and nimble opening pairs. Pool B toppers New Zealand are still unbeaten in the world's biggest cricket tournament, while South Africa is looking for the first victory in a World Cup semi-final. Kiwis have the home advantage, but they know the contest will be very tight.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much separates both teams, and as I keep saying, I think it'll come down to a pretty small margin, and it'll be the team that grabs that opportunity which will come out on top.
Riding a blistering pace attack and brutal batting, New Zealand has steamrolled opponents in all their last 7 matches. South Africa, on the other hand, has lost to India and Pakistan, something the captain is very wary about.
I never like losing a cricket game, so personally to me, I don't feel proud of the two losses in the group stages. The nice thing is that it's something of the past, and we found ourselves in the semi-final of a World Cup, having played a really good game in the quarters. So there's a lot of confidence behind us.
Also tilting scales in New Zealand's favour, a solitary win in the only encounter the two had in the World Cup knockouts. But South Africa will be keen to prevent that, giving it their all to get rid of the chokers tag. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
An actor-filmmaker Shashi Kapoor was today conferred the Dada Saheb Phalke Award for 2014. He'll be the 46th recipient of the award. The 77-year-old actor is the third from his family to get the award after his father Prithviraj Kapoor and elder brother Raj Kapoor. Shashi Kapoor, who's dealing with kidney problems, starred in over 100 Hindi films and is best known for his powerful portrayals in hits like Namak Halal, Diwar and Kabhi Kabhi. He had an equally successful career in alternative international cinema, starring in many British and American films like The Householder, Shakespeare Wala, Bombay Talkies and Heat and Dust, Siddhartha and Muhafiz. On this note, we'll close this bulletin, but we'll leave you with memories from Shashi Kapoor's great career.
आज मेरे पास बिल्डिंगें हैं, प्रॉपर्टी है, बैंक बैलेंस है, बंगला है, गाड़ी है, क्या है तुम्हारे पास?
मेरे पास माँ है।
कह दूं तुम्हें क्या चुप रहूं, दिल में मेरे आज क्या है, जो बोलो तो जानूं, गुरु तुमको मानूं, चलो ये भी वादा है। वादा करो नहीं छोड़ोगी तुम मेरा साथ, जहाँ तुम हो वहाँ मैं भी हूँ। ओ मेरी शर्मिली, आवो ना तरसावो ना, आवो ना तरसावो ना। रास्ता है जिंदगी, जो थम गए तो कुछ नहीं। एक रास्ता है जिंदगी, जो थम गए तो कुछ नहीं। ये कदम किसी मुकाम पे जो जम गए